If you think men always say exactly what they want in love and intimacy, think again, because some of their biggest desires are the very things they almost never say out loud. They act confident, they act relaxed, they act like they have it all handled. But behind that calm face, many men are carrying quiet wishes, private curiosity, and questions they would rather bury than risk being misunderstood for. And that is where this gets interesting. Because the moment a man feels safe enough to stop performing and start being real, everything changes. The connection changes. The energy changes. The way he looks at you changes. Tonight, I want to pull back the curtain on what many men secretly hope for but rarely admit, not because they do not feel it, but because they are afraid of sounding needy, strange, or too vulnerable. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you may understand his silence in a completely new way. And more than that, you may realize that what he wants most is not something wild or dramatic at all. Sometimes it is simpler, deeper, more emotional, more human. And once you understand that, you stop guessing. You stop overthinking. You stop seeing intimacy as a performance and start seeing it as a place where trust, curiosity, and desire can finally breathe. And that is when things become unforgettable. A lot of women grow up hearing that men are easy to read, easy to please, and always ready to say what they want. But real life is rarely that simple. Many men are trained to hide softness, hide uncertainty, and hide anything that might make them look less in control. So even when they deeply want more excitement, more closeness, or a different kind of energy in the relationship, they often keep quiet. Not because they do not trust you, but because they do not know how to bring it up without feeling exposed. And that silence can be misunderstood. You may think he is fine. He may think you already know. Meanwhile, both of you are standing right next to a deeper connection and never opening the door. That is why this conversation matters so much. Because when a woman brings curiosity instead of judgment, warmth instead of pressure, and confidence instead of fear, she creates a space where a man can finally let his guard down. Most people miss this. Intimacy is not just about attraction. It is about emotional safety. It is about being able to say, this is what I wonder about, this is what excites me, this is what I am nervous to admit, and knowing the other person will not pull away. When that happens, something powerful begins. He stops trying to be impressive and starts being honest. An honest desire is always stronger than rehearsed desire. Always. One of the biggest things many men quietly want is for you to take the lead sometimes. Not all the time. Not in some forced, unnatural way. Just enough to make him feel that the energy is not resting only on his shoulders. Many men spend their whole lives initiating, deciding, planning, reading signals, and wondering if they are getting it right. So when you step forward with certainty, when you show desire without making him drag it out of you, it feels like a huge exhale for him. It feels exciting, yes, but it also feels deeply relieving. He does not have to guess. He does not have to manage every beat of the moment. He gets to experience you meeting him halfway with confidence. That can be as simple as starting the kiss first, setting the mood first, sending the first playful message, or making it clear that you are not just open to closeness, but actively drawn to it. And let me tell you, that energy stays with a man. He remembers the woman who made him feel wanted without him having to earn every inch of it first. He remembers the woman who did not sit back and wait to be discovered, but chose to participate, to guide, to create. That is magnetic. That is rare. And if you think he will not notice, trust me, he will. This one shift alone can wake up a whole new level of connection, because underneath all the confidence men are supposed to project, many of them are quietly hoping to feel chosen too. And when you do take the lead, what matters most is not trying to be someone else. It is not about copying a personality that does not feel like you. It is about bringing a little more certainty into the room, a little more intention, a little more play. Men respond strongly to that because it tells them you are present, not passive. You are engaged, not just available. You are with them in the moment, helping shape it instead of waiting for them to carry the whole experience alone. That is why even small changes can feel huge. A longer look, a confident smile, a quiet sentence that shows exactly what mood you are in. a playful challenge, a surprise plan for the evening. None of this has to be extreme. In fact, the simpler it is, the more real it often feels. And here is the part nobody says enough. When a man lets you lead sometimes, it is often a sign of trust, not weakness. He is letting go of the pressure to manage everything. He is allowing himself to receive instead of always perform. That can feel incredibly intimate for him, especially if the rest of his life demands control, responsibility, and restraint. So if you want to build more closeness, do not only ask what he can do for you. Ask where you can create room for him to relax, soften, and be surprised in a good way. That is not just attractive. That is healing. And yes, it can completely change the atmosphere between you. Another hidden desire many men carry is the wish to stop feeling like every intimate moment is a test they have to pass. This is bigger than most people realize. A lot of men may look relaxed on the outside, but inside they are measuring themselves constantly. Am I doing enough? Am I reading her right? Is she really enjoying this? Does she want more from me than she's saying? That pressure can quietly drain the joy out of moments that are supposed to feel natural and connected. So one of the most powerful things you can give a man is not just attention, but ease. A feeling that he does not have to be perfect to be wanted. A feeling that he can slow down, laugh, be real, and still feel desired. That is why a softer energy from you can be surprisingly powerful. Not boring, not dull, powerful. When you let him know that closeness is not a performance review, he settles into himself in a different way. He becomes more open, more expressive, more tuned in. This is where true chemistry grows. Not in perfection, but in permission. Permission to be present. Permission to experiment gently. Permission to ask questions. Permission to learn each other without shame. And if you give him that, you give him something many men almost never get. Not just passion, but peace inside passion. That combination is rare. That combination creates loyalty, because people do not just return to where they felt excited. They return to where they felt safe being fully themselves. And that applies to men more than many people think. Something else many men secretly long for is to witness your confidence in a real, unforced way. Not a polished performance. Not a fake version of confidence designed to impress. Real confidence. The kind that says, I am here, I know my own feelings, I am not hiding from my own desire, and I trust this moment enough to be seen in it. That kind of energy can affect a man very deeply because it invites him into honesty too. When you are comfortable expressing attraction, comfort, warmth, and curiosity, it gives him permission to drop the script and meet you there. It is not only visually attractive, it is emotionally disarming. He sees that you are not waiting for him to do all the emotional heavy lifting. You are bringing your own openness, your own presence, your own willingness to be real. And this does not mean being loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is just the absence of self-consciousness, the absence of apology, the absence of shrinking. That is what catches him. That is what stays in his mind after the moment is over. If you want a man to feel truly drawn in, let him feel that you are not simply tolerating closeness, but enjoying it. Let him feel that your desire is not hidden behind 10 layers of hesitation. Most people think men only want visual excitement, but often what they really crave is emotional clarity. They want to feel your yes. They want to feel your warmth. They want to feel that they are with a woman who is not afraid to fully arrive in the moment. That changes everything. And then there are words. Never underestimate words. Men may act like they do not need reassurance, but so many of them are starving for it. Not empty praise. Not over-the-top flattery. Real, specific words that make them feel seen. A woman saying, I love this side of you, or you make me feel safe, or I love how present you are with me, can land more deeply than she realizes. Why? Because many men rarely hear what they mean to someone in a vulnerable moment. They hear instructions. They hear expectations. They hear jokes. But sincere affirmation, especially in close moments, can go straight to the core. It tells him he is not guessing in the dark. It tells him his presence matters. It tells him he is not just physically there, but emotionally felt. And when a man feels that, his confidence rises in the best way. Not arrogant, connected. He becomes more generous, more open, more alive. This is one of those things that sounds small until you see what it does. A few honest words can completely shift the tone of a relationship. And no, it does not have to sound scripted. In fact, the more natural it is, the better. Say what is true. Say what you genuinely enjoy. Say what you appreciate. People think mystery keeps attraction alive, but sometimes clarity is what creates the spark. So if you want to unlock more depth in your connection, speak more of the good out loud. He may not ask for it. He may not even know how much he needs it, but he will feel it. Another thing men secretly love is novelty, not chaos, not instability, but novelty. There is a difference. Many relationships lose energy not because love is gone, but because predictability quietly takes over everything. Same rhythm, same tone, same pattern, same ending. And while routine can feel safe, too much of it can flatten the excitement that makes a connection feel alive. That is why playful imagination matters so much. A small change of atmosphere, a different tone in your message, a playful scenario, a little mystery before the evening even starts. It does not have to be elaborate. In fact, the lighter it feels, the easier it is to enjoy. Sometimes all it takes is changing the mood, breaking the script, and inviting a little more curiosity into the moment. That is what many men secretly want but hesitate to suggest. They do not want to sound silly. They do not want to be laughed at. So the fantasy stays in their head when it could have become something fun, memorable, and connecting for both of you. And this is where your playfulness can be powerful. If you bring a little imagination, you tell him the relationship still has edges left to discover. You tell him the story between you is still unfolding. That matters. It reminds him that comfort does not have to kill excitement. It can actually support it if both people are willing to keep exploring. Keep watching, because this next part may be the one that changes how you see male confidence forever. Many men also carry a private wish to be emotionally softer than the world allows them to be. This is one of the least talked about desires and maybe one of the most important. A man may be strong, capable, driven, and still long for a place where he does not have to brace himself all the time. He may want to be held without having to explain why. He may want gentleness after intensity. He may want quiet closeness without pressure to instantly jump into the next thing. So if you really want to understand him, do not only focus on what happens at the peak of the moment. Pay attention to what happens before and after too. The way you welcome him in. The way you respond when he is more open than usual. The way you stay warm after the excitement fades. These little things can mean everything. Because for many men, being emotionally received is far more intimate than being physically desired. And yet they rarely say that. They may not even have the words for it. They just know that certain women make them feel more at ease in their own skin, more accepted, more human. If you become that kind of presence, your connection deepens in ways that go far beyond chemistry. It becomes a refuge. And when a relationship becomes both exciting and safe, you create something very hard to replace. That is why emotional aftercare, patience, softness, and real listening are not extras. They are part of the whole experience. They are part of what makes closeness feel complete instead of just intense. Spontaneity matters too, but let us define it in a healthy way. Not reckless, not public risk nonsense, not pressure. Real spontaneity is simply the feeling that the relationship can still surprise you. That desire can still appear in the middle of ordinary life. That affection is not trapped inside a schedule. Men love that feeling more than many women realize because it tells them the connection is still alive. A random message in the middle of the day, a playful look across the room, a sudden plan for a private evening at home, a different setting in your own space, a note, a voice message, a moment that says, I was thinking about us and I wanted to bring some spark into our world. That kind of surprise can break tension, refresh routine, and remind both of you that attraction is something you create, not something you wait around hoping to feel. And the best part is that it does not require perfection. It requires intention. Men often remember the effort more than the execution. They remember the fact that you wanted to bring energy into the relationship. They remember feeling pursued in a small but meaningful way. That is powerful. That creates momentum. So if the connection has felt a little too predictable lately, do not assume something is wrong. Sometimes all you need is a little interruption to the pattern, a little freshness, a little courage, a little willingness to say, let us not sleepwalk through this relationship when we could be fully awake inside it. Here is something else worth knowing. Many men do not actually want intensity for intensity's sake. What they really want is mutual curiosity. They want to know that the relationship can grow, that the conversation is open, that new ideas do not have to arrive wrapped in embarrassment. This is why talking matters so much. Not in a stiff clinical way, in a warm, natural way. Asking what feels exciting lately, asking what makes each of you feel more connected, asking what brings more closeness, more fun, more comfort, more trust. These talks can be light, they can be playful, but they matter because they remove the pressure of mind reading. So many couples struggle not because the spark is gone, but because nobody wants to be the one to start the conversation. Be that person, bring openness, bring ease. Say, we do not have to have all the answers, but we can be honest about what helps us feel closer. That kind of emotional leadership is incredibly attractive. It is mature. It is grounding. And it tells him this relationship can hold truth, not just chemistry. Also, do not forget the importance of boundaries. Nothing builds trust faster than knowing both people can say yes clearly and no clearly. That is not a mood killer. That is what makes deeper exploration possible. When safety is built in, pressure goes down and connection goes up. That is when people stop acting and start relating. And that is when intimacy becomes something that truly belongs to both of you. Confidence, by the way, does not mean being fearless. It means being honest enough to stay present even if you feel a little nervous. That is the energy men often respond to most. Not flawless confidence. Living confidence. The kind that can laugh, adjust, speak up, and keep going without collapsing into self-judgment. If you have ever thought, I am not bold enough for this kind of connection, let me challenge that right now. You do not need to become louder. You do not need a new personality. You just need a little more permission to show up as you are. To say what you enjoy. To initiate sometimes. To bring warmth when you mean it. To bring play when you feel it. To stop acting like desire has to be hidden to be respectable. One of the biggest turn-ons for many men is simply being with a woman who is at ease with her own feelings. That is why presence beats performance every single time. Presence can look like eye contact, a steady voice, a teasing line, a thoughtful plan, a gentle check-in, a confident yes, even a graceful number. All of that is attractive because all of that feels real, and real always has more power than perfect. So if you have been waiting to feel fully ready before bringing more energy into your relationship, this is your reminder. Readiness often comes after action, not before it. Start small. Stay true to yourself. Let the confidence build through experience, not fantasy. What makes all of this work is not technique. It is not trend. It is not trying to copy what looks exciting on a screen. What makes it work is the emotional frame underneath it. Trust. Playfulness, respect, curiosity, the willingness to see each other beyond the roles you both perform during the day. When those pieces are present, even small moments can feel electric. Without them, even dramatic moments can feel empty. That is why the real secret is never just what men want to try. The deeper secret is what they want to feel while they are with you. Chosen, safe, desired, free to be a little more honest than the world usually lets them be. And if you can create that kind of atmosphere, then you are not just bringing excitement into the relationship. You are building a kind of intimacy that becomes hard to forget. This is where a lot of women underestimate their power. They think attraction is mainly about looks or timing or chemistry you either have or you do not. But chemistry can be deepened. Attraction can be fed. Intimacy can be expanded. Sometimes all it takes is one person deciding to bring a little more courage and a little more heart into the room. And yes, that one person can be you. If this is opening your eyes, stay with me, because the final truth ties all of it together in a way that can completely change how you love. At the end of the day, many men are not secretly waiting for perfection. They are waiting for permission to be honest, permission to want more. Permission to admit they like tenderness as much as excitement, affirmation as much as attraction, and emotional safety as much as passion. They may never say that in those exact words, but if you pay attention, you will feel it. You will see it in how they soften when they feel accepted. You will hear it in what they finally admit once they know they will not be judged. You will notice it in the way the whole relationship brightens when closeness becomes a shared creation instead of a silent guessing game. So if you want to become unforgettable in your relationship, Do not focus only on how to be more impressive. Focus on how to be more open, more intentional, more playful, and more grounded. Be the woman who can create spark without chaos, honesty without shame, and closeness without pressure. Be the woman who understands that real intimacy is not about one person leading all the time. It is about both people feeling safe enough to bring their hidden selves into the light. That is where the strongest attraction lives. That is where trust becomes magnetic. And that is where a relationship stops feeling routine and starts feeling alive again. So do not wait for the perfect moment. Create one. Bring the warmth. Bring the curiosity. Bring the courage. And watch what opens when both of you finally stop hiding.